Welcome to Fraud Exposed. My name is Lori Maddock, and today I'm going to be speaking with cybersecurity expert Win-Win from Cyber Armor. Now, if you want to know how to avoid fraud or what to do if you've been a victim, stay with us. We don't want you to get ripped off. And we're going to be speaking about social phishing fraud, how you can prevent it, and what you can do if you're a victim. So, Win, let me start out with you just doing a little introduction about yourself, and then I'm going to tell you a little story, and you can tell me what you think should be
Yep.
done.
Okay. Thank you, Laurie, for having me. My name is Nguyen Nguyen. I'm a security researcher starting a startup called Cyber Armor. We focus in fraud intelligence. So we are searching in the dark web, identify um, fraud, compromised account, and providing information for other financial institutions.
Okay. Well, I want to share with you a story that happened to a family member of mine just a few days ago.
All right.
And we talked about this a little bit before doing the show because it was really extremely stressful. And so I understand how people feel when they go through it. So what actually happened was my family member clicked on a link that was on a text that appeared to be from one of the major credit card companies. And when he did that, I had just walked into the room and I don't think I ever heard. Normally, when you call a company, you get that company on like an automated thing, and then you ask for what extension or they pass you through the fraud department. But in this case, I was highly alerted because it went directly to a person who barely spoke English. And he said to my family member, "Hey, have you used this credit card in New Mexico? Because I'm showing three transactions." And he proceeds to read off the transactions, what they're for, and the dates. And my family member says, "Nope, nope, never did any of that." And I'm like sort of in his ear going, "Scam, scam. I think it's a scam. Don't say anything." And what was a little bit frightening was this person actually had the address, he had information. My family member did not volunteer any information whatsoever. And then the next odd thing was he said, "All right, well, I have to do some stuff from my end," which is probably when they do criminal activity, "and I will call you back in an hour." So that already had me on alert. So now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've been a victim of identity theft. I'm calm when it comes to helping others. When it comes to me, it's more nerve-wracking, but now it's happening to a family member. So I have him call up to the credit card company, and of course they say, "Nope, nope, this was not us. I had Googled the number. It was not associated with any count whatsoever." And so now my bells are going off, ding, ding, ding. There's something really wrong here. Meantime, I have him put security freezes through the three credit bureaus, which should actually, if you're listening to the show, if you do one thing today, please look up online how to put security freezes on the credit bureau so people cannot open anything in your name. Because clearly this guy had the information to be able to do that. And here in Florida, if you are registered as a voter, it puts up your name, your address, and your date of birth. So it kind of completes the missing information voluntarily because you're a registered voter. From that point on, it was kind of full panic mode in contacting all of the credit card companies and the banks to alert them, put passcodes on the accounts and so forth. Now, kind of the kicker to the story was when the guy actually called back. And
Oh,
I have been
wow.
waiting for this. Yeah, I was waiting for this opportunity. I was like, "Hand me the phone. I'll take care of this." But I said hello, and the person said, "I'm calling for family member's name." And I said to him, "Well," I go, "You are patched in right now to," I made up a radio station name. I said, "And we are live and we are interviewing scammers tonight. And I would like to know, how do you feel about scamming people?" And his English wasn't too good, and he kind of went, "Huh? Huh?" He goes, "What?" And I go, I'm a radio host. You're live on the air and we're interviewing scammers, and I want to know how you feel about what you're doing to people. And then the guy hung up. So of course, at that point, I figured the guy will never call that number ever again. But the experience of spending 2.5 hours afterwards, because you're worried how much information is on the dark web, what are they going to suck out of that person? Are they going to try and open credit accounts? Well, guess what? If you don't have a security freeze, they're probably going to try and do that, and maybe they will fail there. However, bank accounts and cash, that's something entirely different. And down here, I'm sure it's across the nation, but down here in Florida, a lot of banks are not giving back money. So when he called one of the companies and the guy said, "Hey, did you volunteer? You volunteered information, right?" And he said, "Nope, I didn't give any information whatsoever. This person had my information." So what I want to kind of do is have you pick it up from there. Don't be afraid to scare people. I think they need to be scared because you get these links all the time. I see USPS or FedEx or UPS, click the link, but hey, I get them from my pharmacy where they're legitimate and I'm afraid to click on them now. You get them on the computer, delete all those, block all those. And again, you could talk a little bit about spoofing the phone numbers because they can make it look like they're calling from any company. And that, especially for older people, that's almost a no-brainer. I mean, I called it my older my mother. I actually called my mother and I said they can spoof it. So if it looks like it's coming from your bank, don't answer the phone. Get the message, listen to it, then go to the number that's actually on your credit card or your bank card and use that number instead. So that's a lot I just threw at you, but maybe you
Yeah.
can kind of scare people into shock because you know the other side of how it works. And this way we can kind of help people not be defrauded.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So it is a sad truth that all of our information are out there publicly, whether we want it or not, right? As you've seen here and every day, there's all these type of companies, whether it's the banks or Target or Home Depot, they can breach, and all of your information is publicly available for hackers to use to leverage. And most of the hacker, they once they identify the profile, right? They build up the profile of the target. They have the information of the name, the address, the family member, for example, like which they can gather from Facebook or different type of social media, and they can perform the attack. Seen from this type of attack that you experience, it might be the early stage of the attacks of fraud where they try to social engineer your family member in providing information, the bank information, the credential to log into the banks. So the risk right now might be a little bit low, but that's the process is they have the information, they build the trust with you. They providing some fake information saying there's some transaction occur and it might be fraudulent, and we want to validate that, right? So they're building some type of they're using some scare tactics to scare you into providing the information to them as a way to validating, and that's how they get into the bank. So by confirming or calling your family member and asking for those information using scare tactics, your family member would likely provide the information as the validation method, right? To provide it, and in that background, they log into the banks and then performing the fraud. So those are some of the scam been going on for some time now, just a social engineering method. And so yeah, it's my way of how to handle the current landscape, right, of the technologies right now is if people call me, I don't pick up the phone, period. If I know the number 100%, then I would pick up. If I don't know them, and if it importance, they would leave the voicemails, right? Then I would call
Right.
back to them. Banks or any type of financial or any companies call me, I just don't pay attention to them, let them go through the message. And if they're providing a voicemail and you feel like it's important, then don't call the number, like you say, call the 1-800 number of your banks, and call and go through that channel, to validating the whole process. Most of the time, right now, I have a few banks, they never call me at all. As you have to be familiar with the new type of landscape now, where um, hacker using the same technologies that we have, that the bank have, right? So they
Hmm.
performing automation, they have a lot of information about us, and so they can performing their attacks with us. So we kind of have to be very defensive in the current technology. So like for example, with the new technologies like the chat GPT or the AI, where they can impersonating anyone um, like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, right? Or the CEO of the companies. So they can impersonate those voice and calling you, and
Yes.
from us as a consumer, we can hear that voice, and we have that trust in that voice, and that is a great way, as gonna be the future threat that we're gonna experience soon, um, because as AI is more advanced, hackers already start using it to leveraging those technologies to attacking the consumer. So we
Well, let
have
me
to
ask you,
be aware of that.
so let me ask you a question. So when, for
Mhm,
example, my family member got hit with this and it was from a specific credit card company, I'm
mhm,
assuming they're just taking chances that someone's going to pick up because you might not have that credit card company, so you're going to know it's a scam. But if you happen to have that credit card company, then you actually think that it's a real link, and you're concerned because
mhm,
it's saying, something about fraud on your account, and that's what scares people. It's
mhm,
before you being scared, you got to stop and think, and say, wait a minute, is something wrong? I want to give you another example of something that happened to me. And you can see my Great Dane in the background behind me in case he jumps up. But I had an issue a few years back with PayPal. And so I had the number actually programmed in my phone. Don't ask me why, but I decided to on my phone go, hey Google, call PayPal. Well, instead of calling, it came up with a list of PayPal sites, and the first one was a sponsored listing.
mhm,
Do not ask me why, because I never will do this again. But I touched on the number for the sponsored listing, the first listing. And so what happened was it connected me again in a situation where it was a red flag, but it took me a couple minutes where a person answered the phone, a man answered the phone. And I know PayPal well enough to know that it goes through their, you have reached PayPal, the automated message, there's some identification. And this person knew what was in my PayPal account, repeated all of my information in that account because I was calling about a specific problem with PayPal.
mhm,
And I'm going, wait a minute, how does this person know all this information? I haven't given him access to anything. It sounds like I'm thinking in my head, something's not right here. And so ultimately I said to him, I don't think that you're from PayPal. And he goes, no, no, I work for the fraud department. I'm going, I don't think so, because PayPal didn't pick up. You answered the phone as a person, not PayPal as a company. And he was basically screaming at me, trying to get me to hang on to the
oh
phone.
wow,
And meantime, I'm going in to access everything and change all of my passwords. And then, of course, I called PayPal and I sent them the information because there's a company that does want to try to find out. But people who do this, whether they have access to your information or not, you're alert to what's on the dark web. Why isn't the FBI? Why aren't officials in some capacity actually on the dark web fighting this, because you know what? I know my information is on the dark web. I know a lot of people whose information is on the dark web. Now I have to worry every day of my life because banks are not returning money, right? They're not returning money. And so it makes me fearful to even have my money in the bank account. And so, in the past, when I've had problems, for example, with my credit card, uh, I had a battle with a company, I won't mention their name, but they didn't do the job. They were not supposed to pay their contractor until the job was completed. So they didn't do anything at all. It was for my website. And so I had my webmaster contact the company and couldn't get any response from them. But he was able to see they paid the contractor. Now, by the way, this was a 1 week job that 8 weeks later, there's still nothing. And now I go, which I should have done to begin with, I should have Googled the company name and I would have seen hundreds, if not thousands of complaints for the exact same thing. So that was a scary thing. So I called my credit card company. They gave me a provisional refund of the money. But then now usually if I provided all the proof, they wanted to ask the other party company kept hanging up on them. Me, however, I put together an entire package from my webmaster and the website, because I do consumer advocacy. I lined it all up like it would be, going to an attorney, for example. It was clear proof that they violated their own policy. So now it turns out they tell me that for this particular case, they actually have to go to Visa and they are going to pay $500 on my behalf for an arbitrator. I've never had this happen before. Right. And it took months and it went through arbitration. And yes, I did win. And the other company, well, I would love to mark how terrible they were. But a lot of companies will then come back after you, the consumer, when you leave a bad Google rating and say that you did something wrong. And now, you're defamatory and we're going to sue you. And so that's kind of a little scary too, because people are afraid of being sued. And I've had friends who have done that. They've left bad Google reviews. So you can see why the fear of things happening. So I'm going to ask you just to hold on for a second. We're gonna have to stop just for a minute. My dog is going ballistic. I've got to let him outside. Can you hold on for just a couple minutes?
Yeah.
All
Yes.
right, I don't want to make you okay. You want to go outside or you want to come sit up here? Which do you want? I don't know. Maybe he just wants me to touch him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see. You see his head?
Yes, he's huge.
Yeah, he's huge. You want to come sit up here? No, no. All right. So, all right, let's try it back. Otherwise if he barks, I got to take him out. All right. So I'm going to wait till 5 and then I'll pick it up. 1, 2. So in explaining some of these stories, I know how it all works. But what I actually want you to do, and this will sound kind of crazy, is I want you to scare people. I want you to scare people into taking action about how they can prevent this. What can they do? I gave you the example, lock your accounts down with the credit bureaus. You can go to your bank and put passwords, but how can you be more observant? Because it seems to me you can no longer trust emails, phone calls, and texts,
Yeah.
and yet no one's really doing anything about it.
Yeah. So going back to your question first, if anyone doing that. So I work for a bank financial institution, and I do know we work aggressively, try to protect as much as possible. And also I talk to a lot of fraud fighter who work for different organization who also fight this. And I also work with the FBI and some law enforcer where we try to identify for this fraudster and try to take them down. The problem that we have is the technologies is advanced where we can be hidden, right? Hackers, they're using um, Telegram, they're using WhatsApp, right? They're using Discord they can be anyone they want it to be. So one of the process, as you know, in the past is buying a burner account, right? Phone, right? You buy a burner phone, so there's, with cash, so there's nothing tied to you as a person,
Right.
and sign up to this type of service and performing your fraud. So it's very hard for us to identify who they are. So over time, eventually, this hacker is gonna expose themselves, right? As they get building, having more confidence, and as we have more data, we can identify or pinpoint exactly who they are. But the challenge is not easy or simple um, to identify them quickly. Um, as for being how to protect ourselves is we have to be a little bit more aggressive in the way we are in not trusting people. Sadly,
Agreed.
it's very sad to say that, but is anything online you cannot trust, right? I can sign up to about 20 different Facebook account right now with different name and build relationship, building bromance, right? One of the scam is the bromance where I sign up to and using some of your friend information and try to build the relationship with you, right? On Facebook or Instagram, for example. So the the landscape is changed significantly where the consumer have to be a little bit fearful in that um, anyone is anyone on the web. So you cannot trust them. Even if the phone number, for example, you mentioned the phone, you have a PayPal number on there. I recently experienced a fraud, a scam, which I kind of expect. So with the trademark, the USPTO .gov, where we file for a trademark. Every time you file for a trademark, it become a public records.
Right.
And within about 5 days, I received a call from USPTO, and the scammer they try to social engineer me into um, paying them about $300 to finalize my trademark. We all know government doesn't run that long, right? That doesn't run that fast. It would take months for us to get approved. So I kind of expect this already. So that scam is for your trademark to be approved, you have to pay us the final price, which is another $300. And their method of building confidence with me or with the target of victims is they ask the victims to use the phone number on the phone and search for it. So when you search for that number, it's a USPTO number, but that is a spoof number, right? So um,
Yes.
so yeah, there's hacker or fraudster, they leveraging all type of opportunity out there to to perform fraud, to steal money from you. For example, if you file for new companies like LLC, for example, it become public records, and they would
Yeah.
use the information to try to steal money from you. So yeah, the number two things for me is never trust anyone on the internet or on the phone, and expect your information out there, all your information out there, whether you like it or not. Um, Public information is one. Data breach is two, right? For example, LinkedIn a few years ago or last year, there's about 5 million or 500. I'm not sure how many been been available for hacker to download. I've seen some of the data that been shared by hackers or of target information that you can buy, right? Or all the victims that they have a big profile of these victims. So this allows them to have a high chance of being success in their attacks. So so you kind of have to very aware of everything and just be a little bit paranoid in a way to not
Okay.
happen trust the what you've seen quickly, right? So if someone call you, unless you 100% expecting it, likely it's gonna be a fraud, right? If anyone sends you a message on Facebook or on LinkedIn, Instagram, chances are it might be bad. They might try to social engineer you into it, into the get into your confidence, building the confidence so they can steal money from you. One of the example is Facebook. They're very loose in securities. So I have a lot of family member who get hacked their account. Once they get
Okay.
hacked, the hacker would using that profile send then they should then they send a messenger use a messenger to send me message, try to social engineer me into um, building the confidence and likely in the future send them some money, right? But that's their process is to um, hack the account, then then try to hack or fraud all the family member, all the relationship on
Yes.
Facebook, all the friend list. So it's very easy, right? And there's a very low risk for them because law enforcers have very hard time into identify who they are.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you kind of scared me. This is not when we were doing a show, but on another conversation a couple of weeks ago, when you showed me what you saw on my Facebook profile, which is a locked account. And
Mhm,
now when I'm in Facebook, it gives you an option to see it as another person. So like you're from the outside looking in. But that's not what you showed me. It didn't look anything like what Facebook showed me.
mhm,
And that was a bit disconcerting and a bit alarming that there was that much information. So if they're able to access that much information, then they can they're gathering information on the people they think they're most likely to be able to scam, right? Because some people
mhm,
are just, not going to bother. But even if they get a small percentage and they kind of suck you in there, they're getting your information. So, I mean, I think people need to actually scared,
mhm,
be shocked. We don't want you to get ripped off. That's the entire purpose of doing this as a show, is to let people know nothing is safe out there. I don't want to say I'm paranoid. Am I a little crazy when it comes to it? Yep, I am, because I'm a credit specialist, credit consultant, and I deal with this. I've dealt with it personally as a victim of identity theft. It is not fun to go through that. That's when you're going to be freaking out, is after the fact, and you have to go get your license and your social security, and everything has to be done in a certain order, and so you don't want to go through that kind of thing. So we're going to be doing more shows, obviously, coming up. I want to thank you for answering all of the questions. Please, please, please put security freezes on your credit reports. That is crucial. It should be mandatory by the credit bureaus. We're going to be back again. Why don't you just give us your contact information in case anybody wants to call, and I'll do the same.
Yeah, if feel free to contact me at win at cyberarmor.tech. You can find
Very
me on
good. And
LinkedIn as well. So
yep, and I am Lori Maddock from crediteducationconsultants.com. And I do help people who are victims of identity theft. But I'm actually hoping that I don't have to do that anymore, because someone like you will figure out a way to try and stop the bad guys. Thank you very much. And we'll be back with another show very soon.